What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Games Up Podcast. My name is Cameron McCulloch-Keeble, and I'm joined as ever by him.
Hello,
And that is
Lawrence.
Titley.
Yes.
And
the other one, actually.
I was hoping we were going to do that thing where you do like one word after the other. So I would start with the
Amazing
man,
rodent.
the amazing man rodent.
The amazing man rodent circus. I don't know. What were we doing with this?
I don't know. How are you?
Where's Lewis?
Lewis is still in London, being a professional and doing things. I know.
Hmm.
We miss you.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm alright. I'm
Good.
wonderful.
Marvellous.
Hmm.
Should we talk some news?
Let's talk some news. Let's hear about the news. What
We
news
have
is this?
8 items on the news list. 2 of them concern Square Enix. One of them is interesting. One of them is very bleh. And that first one, number 1, starts with this: Square Enix are giving away an island, a whole island, sort of.
I presume that's the interesting one, not the bear one.
Oh yeah. That's this is about as interesting
An
as
entire
interesting
island.
gets.
Where is this island?
Hold on, you're jumping ahead to all the interesting points. Just Cause 3 developer Avalanche Studios and Square Enix have announced a contest for Just Cause 3 in which the grand prize is a real-life island. What you have to do
Taxes on those are.
buy the day one copy of the game.
Mhm.
Everything you destroy in the game gets you destruction points or chaos points.
As Just
And if
Cause
you're
is.
and if you're at the top of the chaos points leaderboard after 90 days, you win the opportunity to win an island. Sorry about that. Here's the clauses on this one. The location of the island is to be determined by the sponsor.
Okay.
All taxes and fees associated with owning and purchasing an island, including closing, attorney's fees, and escrow, are not limited by the provider, so you pay those.
Whose sovereignty is the...
We're not done yet.
Okay.
The sponsor does not guarantee the island to be inhabitable, developed, or reachable by anything other than boat.
Does it mention the boat?
It
Shallow
does, yeah.
draft only.
Developed or reachable by any other means than boat.
Well,
Or you can have £50,000 in cash.
personally, I'd take the cash.
I think you'd probably lose the cash here purchasing an. I mean,
I think
personally,
in
like if I
taxes
win it,
alone-
I would definitely take the real estate if it were given away free. But what this is likely to be is like there's like a large puddle in Texas with a growth of mud in the center of it.
And that's your island.
And what they're going to do, they're going to ship you over there on the cheapest boat possible with a flag with Just Cause 3 on it that you can shovel into the ground and look on in pride.
Would you take a UK ensign just to pin onto the side?
We're auctioning off the Falklands for the most stealth points in Hitman. Yeah, so that's kind of mental.
Yeah. Well,
How does somebody come up with that idea?
I mean,
Like, who walks into the offices of Just Cause 3 or Square Enix and goes, "Hey guys, I've got an idea. You know how most people do pre-order DLC? Let's give away a fucking island." Oh,
do you think like you own the island in proper, or do you just like own? Is it like a lease that goes on for so long, or how long will you own the island? Is
it's
it
a good
fee
question.
simple?
Let me
Is
see
it...
if I can find the.
I mean, the legal problems alone.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of hoops to jump through just for a 3-month video game like competition. It doesn't seem.
Island.
I'd sell it. I'd sell it back to Square Enix for office space. Let's see. Oh, Christ. Yeah, it's a weird one. I mean, obviously, like, if you win and you can afford it, take the real estate. Always take the real estate.
It's only guaranteed to improve in value.
Unless we learn that you don't own it, in which case definitely take the money. I love as well that they're showing off the pictures of like Just Cause 3's map and win an island as though it's going to be anything that glamorous or tropical.
Probably
Here we
just
go.
going to be some shitty North Atlantic.
Grand prize winner will win ownership rights to an island valued at up to $50,000. So it's up to $50,000. So it could
That's
be
a shitty island.
a $15 mudslide. Location of island to be determined by sponsor. All taxes and fees associated with purchasing and obtaining of island are responsibility of winner. Yeah, that's all the things that we already said. But it does sound like you win an island in full.
I'd just take the money and buy my own island because it's the same amount. It's the same amount in value, and this way you actually get to choose. So instead of having a tiny spit of land in the Arctic Gyre, you can have a tiny spit of land in the Bahamas.
So I listen to a lot of video game podcasts, and a lot of them have said the same thing. If you become the person to win an island on February, whatever the fuck it is, when this competition finishes, please get in touch, because I'd fucking love to interview you.
Absolutely.
I'd love to. I can't claim this joke. It comes from Podcast Unlocked. I'm terribly sorry, but I'd love to unbox your island. That would be fucking incredible.
What would you? I mean,
it'd be great. It'd be
here's
great.
the question: if you took that island and then you set up your own like small dictatorship on the island,
Yeah,
do you think anyone would have, say, an adequate reason to intervene in the humanitarian crisis of your island?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, if you own that island in full, can you set the laws on that island? Can you, like, do you have to do all the work regarding approaching the United Nations?
I think it's like the difference in between. Well, it's like owning a house. You don't get you don't get to determine the laws inside the house.
So then, you've got to win an island, but somebody has to govern your land.
Well, yes, it will be in someone's sovereignty.
So that's really interesting. Like, how does Square... What kind of government does Square Enix approach and say, hey, we'd like to auction off some of your land for a video game contest?
Maybe somewhere in, like, Polynesia or... I mean, if it were in Polynesia, that'd be beautiful.
Yeah? I can't... It'd be the world's best B&B. I can't fucking wait to find out how this ends. Something tells me it won't end great.
I don't think it will.
Or someone will just take the 50 grand.
I hope they take the 50 grand. It'll be a nicer outcome for everyone
Yeah.
involved.
And the thing is, the island costs 50 grand, or up to, so you can probably buy it back anyway.
Well, that's what I just said.
Sorry.
Yes.
Number 2, the GTA editor is coming to current gen consoles. So that's Xbox One and PS4. Mm-hmm. Sorry, last gen owners. Which is fucking awesome, because A, it's another piece of content that they're giving away for free.
Yeah.
Which is gonna, like, that's a fairly detailed piece of software they're giving away right there. It's a movie editor that uses clips that you capture in GTA
right.
to render movies together. But, like, you can do all sorts of shit with them.
You can
like,
make your machinima.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they're giving away machinima software for free. That's really cool. And people have done some really cool shit with it. I'm going to put a plug in here. There's a band called Gunship who are made up of members of Fightstar who make electro 80s synthwave video gaming music. And they've made a music video with the editor in GTA 5. And you're giving me that smirk because I know that you don't necessarily like all the things I just mentioned.
Well, there were a hell of a lot of qualifiers. It's certainly true.
Yeah. But yeah, they've made a really cool music video with this, and it shows off like the capabilities of what you can do if you have that ambition and stuff. And they're giving this away for free. So cool. Go check out that music video.
Yeah.
Go check out the.
Sorry, carry on.
No, you go.
Rockstar, more stuff like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
More free heists, more free everything. Everyone, more free everything.
Indeed.
Thank you. Number 3. Everybody's gone to the Rapture. You know of this?
You told me of it briefly beforehand.
I did. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture has had its soundtrack disallowed from the UK album charts,
really?
Despite the fact that it did in fact garner enough sales to get the number 1 spot. Yeah.
Why?
Well, the charts say this is because of the same rules as with film soundtracks that they disallow them. But in the same week that Everybody's Gone to the Rapture got the number 1 spot, there was some kind of recording of a film soundtrack in the top charts, so the developer's been quite annoyed by it, understandably so.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak specifically to what the recording of the film soundtrack was, because there's all sorts of like in and out rules as to what qualifies them. Like if it's a live performance of the film soundtrack, that's like live music recorded, so they count. But The OST doesn't. But if it's a compilation album like Tron, that counts, I think. Tron Legacy, sorry, with Daft Punk, that counts, I think, or something like Ted 2 or Ted, where they've got like lots of other soundtracks put together. That stuff counts, but an original soundtrack doesn't. But it's kind of shitty, and I feel like it's the kind of thing that the UK album charts should move on now, because they're not exactly growing in popularity, and this is the kind of thing that could do them some good.
You really would have thought it would have done them. I mean, why does there need to be such a heavily qualified sort of regulation on getting film OSTs and the like into the charts? Why does there need to be? What's the problem? Why does it?
I should make it clear that when we refer to the charts, we're referring to the classic charts.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're going head to head with Justin Bieber and
Top of the Pops.
Who put an album out recently? The Fratellis, that was it. They put an album out recently that I thought they'd be going up against. But yeah. Yeah, it's a weird one, and it kind of sucks for the Chinese room because the soundtrack is, by all accounts, pretty good. And it's
I'm gonna have to give it a listen when I go home.
You are. You're a fan of all that.
I am quite a fan of
music from the video games.
Of the Ersts.
That's a spoiler for later. I'll show you that in a minute. Number 4. Oh no, that's a spoiler for right now. Number 4. The first look at the Michael Fassbender in the Assassin's Creed movie hath come out.
Ah, Michael Fassbender.
Yes, who played Magneto.
I remember he had a American accent that slowly gave way to a Northern Irish accent.
Yes,
like the metal he was bending.
So
all the Fass.
It's come out, the first picture of Michael Fassbender in the Assassin's Creed movie. Are you ready? There he is.
Oh dear.
That's Michael. We can't show you this because it's one of those things that's owned by various other people, and we don't have.
They're rights, and they're bigger than us, and they scare us.
Exactly. So, Google it. Michael Fassbender Assassin's Creed. He is not playing an existing character. He's playing a new character that they're adding into the Assassin's Creed universe.
Right.
He's playing... Where is it?
Michael Fassbender revisiting the memories
He's
of Michael Fassbender.
Callum... That'd be so good. He goes through his old movies. He's playing Callum Lynch, which is kind of a shame.
He sounds Irish.
He does sound Irish. I think he's going to tie in with the Kenway saga.
It could,
which is a fucking shame.
I didn't like Kenway.
None of the Kenways are good. Haytham is the best of the Kenways, and you only play him as an intro to shitty Connor. And I finished AC4 the week before early last week, and he's a dick as well. The game ends. Spoilers. Sorry, the game's like 3 years old, and they gave it away free last month. The game ends with you renouncing your being a pirate and bringing your daughter from England to come on board with you after you've murdered countless motherfuckers in the Caribbean, damaged the Assassin's Creed name, left your wife to have this child alone. You bring her on board, and I'm like, oh, I'm totally going to change now. That's why I'm still driving this fucking pirate boat.
It would definitely seem like a character you're not supposed to relate with. Or at least that's probably what they said when they wanted to convince themselves that he was a complex character. What a bellend.
Anyway, I hope that this adds more... I really hope this adds more meat to the future section of Assassin's Creed. Because more and more they're just abandoning that pretense and going for...
Did you really like the overarching
love
narrative?
The future stuff. Love it. I think it's really clever, a really cool idea, rather than just sort of fighting in Fantasyland. And it adds a nice overlayer that they just don't give enough care to. And now they're sort of... Sorry, I realise I cut you off there. Now they're just abandoning that pretense and using it as like, it's just a framework for you to go fuck about in medieval England. Which is, if you like that, it's fine. But any game could be that. Like, I come into Assassin's Creed for assassins shit.
I remember I played Revelations.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about the point that I stopped noticing the storyline. I also played Assassin's Creed 3 because you were getting rid of it.
Yep.
But I wasn't paying attention to any of the story then. It was in the living room with all my friends, and we couldn't listen to cutscenes, and I didn't care to.
No.
But
you didn't miss much.
No.
which is a great shame because you should have.
The whole, so I haven't kept up to date with what's the overarching story with the ones that came before the Forerunners, as it were.
With AC Unity, the most recent publicly released Assassin's Creed game, the future bit was very much if AC Unity was a 40-hour total game, there was about an hour of it set in the future where you played as the old assassin anyway in different places, and there was some dialogue. They're just abandoning it left, right, and centre. And if they want to, that's fine. But I think it's a shame.
I should be perfectly honest. When I played the first one, I totally thought this game would work so much if they never actually expand on all this future stuff that they put in. It will work so much if the mystery is just left. And I know that I say this all the time, every day, and you can probably set your clock to it by now. But if they had let the series just stop without having to explore every mystery,
well, that would have been fine too. But see, because I still haven't played the first one, and you recommended me the second one, and you were there at the end of it while I was playing through the end of it, and when the moment happens at the end of AC2 that very much ties the future and the history together. That was like, shit, this is cool. And then it's just abandoned. I don't know. I feel a lot more strongly about it than most. But whatever. Yeah, he looks very American Indian in his costume.
I can't actually see his face from here.
Yeah, you can only really see one eye, and it's very bright. I don't know. I don't know what more to say than that's an Assassin's Creed movie. Speaking of movies and bad ideas, Borderlands is getting a film.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah,
that's a bad idea.
It was announced this week that Games Up favourite Borderlands is being given a movie. The movie is in development at Lionsgate with producer Avi Arad, who was responsible for Daredevil.
Oh.
Yay.
Who enabled Daredevil.
He made all the Spider-Man films as well, so that's fairly... That's a good notch.
Is this like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Or the...
And actually he produced the new ones as well. And he might still be producing with Marvel, but I'm not sure. Yeah. It's going to be weird. What's going to be really interesting is if they do the cel-shaded thing properly. There has been a film before that did cel shading.
What'll be interesting is how they treat the tone.
Yeah, I hope it's quite Deadpoolish.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if that would work in a...
By which I mean like similar to the Deadpool trailer we've seen. In that
wacky murder fun.
They have said that they don't intend to pull any punches with it, and it will definitely have an R rating. Either definitely or probably, but they've said R rating, which is something, I guess.
I mean, because the guys with the hockey mask faces, as it were, clearly all psychopaths.
Yeah.
But is it going to be in a haha Borderlands wacky funny psychopath, or is it going to be a
gritty
Mad Max where you're not Mad Max? Book of Eli kind of wear your skin psychopath.
Man, now that you said that, a Mad Max Borderlands kind of thing, I could see that working, maybe.
It could. I mean, I haven't seen the new Mad Max. I've been thinking old Mad Max.
I think you'd really like it.
Is it gritty?
No, not particularly. It's violent, but it's not gritty like every other action movie. Everything's fucking grey gritty.
So it's like Borderlands, basically.
Yeah, it is pretty Borderlandsy. Number 6, Rocket League has sold 1 million copies on Steam. It's fantastic because it looks great fun. It's also been announced for other consoles, so they haven't specifically said who or where, but that's pretty much Xbox One, if not Xbox One and Wii U. If not Xbox One, Wii U and the Ouya. And Linux. So yeah, everybody gets Rocket League.
Yay, I can play Rocket League.
We can play Rocket League together because it's cross-platform.
Yes. As soon as I actually give myself...
No, you could play on Linux and I can play on the Xbox One. And
as soon
it's cross-platform.
I give myself an operating system that will allow me to run something like Rocket League.
Number 7, and this is a happy one because we almost went a week without talking about Konami. Konami are once again being dicks. If you tomorrow, or today actually when this posts, have bought Metal Gear Solid 5 on a PC disc, then sucks to be you, because what you just bought is a physical Steam launcher. If you pay the money that it will cost to get a day one PC disc version, or any PC disc version, what you're buying is the Steam launcher on a disc. Not the
And
game,
Is
none of the game files, nothing. The Steam launcher.
is there any difference between the Steam price and the?
That I couldn't tell you, but it is a pretty big kick in the face for any...
It is.
Your consumer rights are pretty much taking a back seat here when Konami is selling you a device to launch it on their terms.
Yeah.
That's pretty shoddy. Also, it means that you have to go through Steam.
Which you might not, which you might have. Well, you might have actually bought some physical media so you don't have to go through Steam.
Exactly.
Maybe you're in a place
I mean, I don't know.
Internet.
I haven't... Well, yeah, maybe. Like, I haven't bought a disc-based game in a long while.
Yeah.
In fact, I've never bought a disc-based game for the PC. And maybe it's standard now that all disc-based games just go through Steam. But, yeah, usually you buy a disc-based game if you don't want to, physical media, if you don't want that digital download hanging over your head. And this is a really shitty way to deal with it.
Maybe they decided that that's the way that they're going to finally novel those resellers.
God, yeah, that's really interesting.
The resale market.
Pre-owned.
It's basically an online pass. Well, it is an online pass. It's an online pass to buy from Steam.
Yeah. God, that's really interesting. I'd not thought about that before. Because I guess you can't really pre-own that, can you?
No, well,
because you can give anybody the link to a Steam launcher.
Well, yeah,
the difference is there's a paywall.
Steam launcher. Well, that's a very good question. Do you once you've downloaded the thing from the Steam launcher, does it then go into some kind of Steam library that you can then download on every other device?
Yeah.
Well, no, because then in which case they'd be able to distribute that infinitely.
Yeah, I imagine that's what they're doing.
I think it's probably as a means to combat. It might well be a 1 or 2 download thing alone.
But then why not just give it an online pass? Why not just have the... See, what this to me says is they couldn't be bothered to put the files on the disc. This is purely conjecture, by the way.
Yeah, we don't know anything of that.
I've got no idea about it. This is purely me making ideas up. But it seems to me that this is them saying, here's MGS5 on PC, go through Steam. And so it's like them giving you a code to redeem it, except you don't type the code in, you just put the disc in the drawer.
Well, yes, but I think the code is only good for... If Konami business practices are what I think they are, the code will only be redeemable once. Or maybe 3 times.
I don't know enough about the ins and outs of redeeming a code through a disc on Steam to say whether that would work or not, but either way. Yeah, that's a really interesting one for pre-owned.
If I were buying it on Steam, at least then I'd be able to have it in my Steam library, so that way you could...
And you can actually game share with the Steam library.
Yeah, or go between
2
computers.
devices. Yeah. Oh, I'd never thought about that. That's even shittier than at first thought. So now not only are they being professional dickbags, Konami are being consumer-facing dickbags.
They've gone through the kind of dickbag for a living now into a kind of meta dickbag. This is their life now. This is how they live.
Sort it the fuck out, Konami. 1, 2, 3. Fuck Konami. A Hideo Kojima game. Number 8, and this is a fairly new one at the time of recording. Square Enix have outdone themselves again. They have released news of the pre-order DLC for your Deus Ex Mankind. Mankind Divided. Deus Ex Mankind Divided, that one.
Right then.
Here's how it works. How does pre-order DLC usually work, Mr. Loz?
Well, the way pre-order DLC usually works, at least in its making, is they say that after the game is done, there's an amount of time in which the team isn't doing anything. So they get them on DLC.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you pre-order the DLC, you get the DLC. The terms of what the DLC are clearly written on the DLC. So you get the DLC and you get that, right?
There you go. You pre-order a game, you get given stuff for buying it early. It's a bit of a shitty business practice. Sort of.
Kind of.
But
it's like getting...
At least it's usually clearly defined.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's how Deus Ex Mankind is going to work. If you pre-order the DLC, If you pre-order the game, you get the DLC with it. The pre-order DLC is 3 content packs of varying DLC. But if enough people pre-order the DLC, you'll go on to tier 2 of pre-order DLC, which includes a digital art book and a digital sampler of the soundtrack. A sampler of the soundtrack. If enough people then go to tier 3 of the pre-orders, you get a whole mission and so on and so forth up to tier 5.
Please stop. I'm salivating already.
Meaning that if nobody pre-orders this game, they've spent money on creating 4 tiers of pre-order DLC that nobody will ever see. That's just money wasted, thrown into the fire, and that's locked off from consumers for no reason.
In fairness, if they made that DLC but they didn't put the tier system in, they would, and nobody bought it, they would be suffering the same problem.
Yeah, but the difference is that it's not like
So the
there is only
a
certain amount of control you can exercise on buying all this DLC.
Yep.
Like if this were like a Humble Bundle situation where they're like, hey, pay more than tier 1 and you can have all the content for tier 2, that would be still shitty but less shitty. This is them saying, we'll decide when you have pre-ordered enough to give you our content. Like, they have a number in their head. I can't see what the number is here. I'll refresh the page and see if it's got up. It currently says 25% to unlock tier 2.
No, isn't that 68%?
No, it's 25.
What was this? Yeah, whatever.
It said 25% to unlock tier 2, meaning that they have a number in their head. Oh, right, I'll take a look at that. They have a number in their head that I can't find here that says tier 2 will unlock when we hit this number.
Yeah, it's one. They're doing the trust us.
Yes, exactly. Not only have they locked off this content in the first place, they've now locked off this locked off content behind 4 locks.
It's well, you know how Deus Ex is frequently about the grim dark future.
Oh god, this is so nasty. Like, firstly, stop pre-ordering games. Like, stop pre-ordering games. You have no reason to pre-order games. If you're preloading a game on a console, fine, fair enough. That's kind of a reason. We'll talk about that at some point in the future in Games Up. I have a suggestion to fix that. But, like, if you have to preload your game because you don't have good internet or you want it day one, fine, that's kind of a reason. For any other reason, don't ever pre-order a game. You don't need to.
It undermines the entire free market, kind of. You look exactly at what you're buying and then you buy it, because the DLC you just don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, it's not good for anyone. It's only good for the people making money, but even the people who aren't making money aren't necessarily the same thing as the devs. Like, it doesn't put more money necessarily in the hands of developers to do better things with games. It just lines pockets.
What this seems to be doing is trying to mobilize the community as one to pre-order a hell of a lot. Yeah. Plainly.
Now, I've seen this done before. I've seen this done on Steam when I think it was... Shout out to a friend of myself in the show, Yoyin. It was my first year in uni. There was a new Resident Evil game coming out. And he did a thing where he pre-ordered it on Steam, and if enough people pre-ordered it on Steam, they unlocked content that was like the first game, and then the second game, and it went up. The difference there was those games were buyable separately, and you knew what they were. Mm-hmm. Like, you could look at Resident Evil 1 and go, okay, I don't want that, I'm not going to pre-order, I'm just going to buy it when it comes out. Or if you really wanted it and you wanted to take the risk that you'd be getting Resident Evil 1 and 2 for cheaper, but that's like a good risk to take. This is risking entirely on the guarantee of, hey, you're really going to want this stuff if we give it to you when we decide that we want to give it to you. That's shitty.
I'd be interested at this point to look at what the cash flow problems are inside these companies. Plainly. Problems or even their practice. Because, well, plainly, if they are actually relying on the money coming in for DLC in order to carry on and do things, this would probably at least explain some of their incredibly shitty behaviour. If that's now just how they operate.
Yeah, it's all nasty. It's all nasty. So that was the news. As it
All of
stands.
it?
Well, yeah. Well, no, not all of the news. There was various other things.
Hmm.
Xbox announced a new Elite console, which has a 1 GB HD drive, 1 TB drive, but an 8 GB SSD drive. So stuff loads faster, apparently.
Interesting.
Mad Max reviews are all over the place because there's not many review codes to go out. Until Dawn had some purchasing problems.
That's the one with the murder on the snow.
Yes, Murder on the Snow. That
That's
was its
it.
original title, in fact, before
Really?
they changed it. Yeah.
Oh.
No. Minecraft story mode. You get to choose whether the characters are male or female, which is cool. Dishonored Definitive Edition came out and looks all nasty and screen teary. Yeah. Ugh.
Ugh.
Ugh. So let's go to our topic of the week.
What is our topic of the week? Should I?
You pitch this one. So pitch it to me, my good friend.
My pitch for the topic of the week is plainly this. This is something that's been going around, well, actually since time began. But plainly, what degree do you think nostalgia plays in video games, in their sale, in the practice and development? What? Just explore for me, with me. Take a random walk through the park of nostalgia in video games.
It's an interesting question because nostalgia is a weird thing in the way it affects the video game industry.
In what sense?
Well, because the video game industry is a very weird version of an entertainment industry. You don't get nostalgia plaguing the movie industry and the music industry in the same way that it does the games industry. Like, the movie industry is nostalgic.
I mean, you've got Star Trek all over again and Star Wars all over again.
Yeah, but that's a different kind of... Those are rebooted for the sake of the studios and to have constant content coming out for consumers and stuff. Like, those aren't necessarily driven because people are constantly talking up the values of the original Star Trek stuff. Like, I don't think it's the same kind of nostalgia. Whereas the video games industry, there is a lot of... there's a huge amount of nostalgia towards both what's been and gone and the sort of atmospheres and practices we had with it. Endless, lots of people talk about how the golden age of video games was the 8-bit, 16-bit, 64-bit eras of gaming, and there's huge things to be said there about the possibility of nostalgia and how much that's playing an effect on, how much that's tinting the lens of what people are seeing. And the same thing has to be said to our generation when eventually, the Xbox 7 and the PlayStation 12 are coming out and we're looking back and going, oh, I remember when...
It won't be the Xbox 7, it'll be the Xbox One. Again.
Yeah, yeah. By that time, yeah, it'll be the Xbox 360 too. Yeah, so it's a weird...
Would you say that? I mean, would you say that that nostalgia is good for the creativity and good for the drive of the industry? Would you say that it's damaging? Would you say that it's just a thing?
Yeah, I think I stick more on the it's just a thing level of that, because I can see the argument for nostalgia is a bad thing because it means constantly looking into the past and not necessarily looking
wallowing
forward
in our own mistakes.
It means not necessarily like looking forward and being progressive and changing things for the better, but then at the same time, like, it's only ever really looking into the past that drives people to an arguably, like, it's having that nostalgia for original video games and the stuff you grew up playing that gives you that passion to go forward and do it. So arguably without nostalgia there's less of a drive and less of that passion for video games to be as strong a medium as they are. I don't necessarily think it's good or bad. I just think it's sort of a thing that exists, like, and it makes sense that it does exist. Would you say you're particularly nostalgic for a thing? Like, is there something that you look back on from when you were, growing up playing games that you think, that's what we need, that's what we're missing.
I mean, I have nostalgia for things. Stuff like Halo, even. Probably, I mean, Halo was on the Xbox 360, and well, no, it was on. No, no, it would have been on the Xbox.
Halo Combat Evolved was on the Xbox.
And the only Xbox in the family, as it were, was owned by Michael. So he'd come over, and there'd be and I always liked it when Michael would come over, because there'd be, you know, one more person to play with.
Yeah.
And the Xbox there was like a...
Sorry about that slight technical hitch. You were telling us about your days playing Halo on the original Xbox.
I definitely had... Well, I mean, yes. My cousin would come round with his Xbox every couple of months, and he'd set it up, and we'd finally have this new flashy shiny bit of technology that would actually which we could actually play shooters on.
Mm-hmm.
And Halo was the first shooter that we actually played on it.
Yep.
So, can I say that it got a fair critical viewing there?
Yeah.
No, it didn't. Not in the slightest. Do I think that now, when I go back and play Halo, I now administer it criticism? No, I really don't, because it's still surrounded in that soft, warm glow that it was surrounded on the first time I played it. Same goes for a lot of the Zelda series.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like we were talking before we recorded this episode, when I was coming up, I played lots of games on the PlayStation, and my personal, what's the word, demon habit was terrible licensed Star Wars games. And like, I know looking back on them that they weren't great, they didn't function well. I don't necessarily wouldn't enjoy them playing them now, but I do look back on them with that haze. But I do think something has to be said, that we can identify that they weren't given a fair critical view. Like, that we identify that nostalgia is playing a part here. And I think that's what sets it apart from being a good or bad thing. That it's a thing you can sort of identify independently of the game, independently of your time spent with it, and say, oh, but I'm seeing that through rose-tinted glasses, because you're able to see something. Like, when you go back and watch a movie that doesn't hold up, you can still enjoy it for what it was. Like Ace Ventura. I love Ace Ventura. I love that film. It doesn't hold up. Like, there are some things said in it that would not fly today.
Yeah.
But I know that it's as much my nostalgia of enjoying it then that's affecting me enjoying it now, so I can criticise it, I'd say, pretty fairly, because I'm able to say, that doesn't stand up.
Is it fun? When you watch it now, is it fun? When you play those nostalgia games, are they fun?
Okay,
right?
Okay.
Because that's the ultimate acid test. I would say for an awful lot of things if I played them again now, I wouldn't consider them fun. But because I played them then, and because I have that haze, that allows me to become immersed in the game.
Okay.
So you can say, like, you can identify things, play your own biases, but that doesn't remove them. That doesn't turn the game from either fun to not fun, or not, or back again.
Okay, true. I mean, I don't know. There's something to be said. Like, if you had all memory of Halo wiped from you, would you play it again now and dislike it?
I think I would play it again and dislike it.
Really?
I would think it is mega pretentious for a game that is really bringing nothing particularly new or clever to the table. The fact that it got all the fanfare that it was would piss me right the hell off.
Well, see, you have to bear in mind that, like, okay, but if you had all memory wiped of Halo and then were presented Halo 1 in the context
Tabula
of which
rasa.
Halo... If you were presented Halo 1 in which the context of Halo 1 released...
Yeah.
So it was fairly groundbreaking as a thing. The way it included multiplayer, the way it, like, acted as a shooter, the engine, so on and so forth. Like, there was fairly groundbreaking there.
But the story wasn't special, and the story is always what suckers me in. I mean,
yeah,
I don't particularly enjoy Titan Souls, despite the fact that it's got a very, very, I mean, it's not a particularly inventive multiplayer. Not
Do you mean
Titanfall.
Titanfall?
Titanfall.
I was going to say Titan
Titan
Souls has
Souls.
some really interesting lore
It,
to
it,
it.
it does, yeah. But it's got it's really effective in its style, but that doesn't sucker me in because it doesn't have a very good story.
Okay, yeah.
So I would say the story alone of Halo is, I really enjoyed it, and if I looked at the story again now, I wouldn't really.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. See, I don't know, but I still don't think this is enough to rank it on a good or bad scale. Like, I don't know that it actually has that much of a perceivable effect.
can you think of any games that I would say that there are some perceivable effects that are problematic. Well, not problematic, but that are problems.
Like what?
Like the fact that Nintendo can survive on very little new IP by swimming around in a pool of nostalgia.
Yes.
That, I would say, is a problem, and is the problem of them being able to exploit nostalgia as a mineable resource.
But then, the argument to be there is that Nintendo survive on many things as well as a pool of nostalgia. They rely on their reputation as a strong game developer. They rely on their excellent game dev abilities and level designers and their platform balancers, and they rely as much on their excellent marketing team. Like,
this is all competence, but the same goes for.
Okay, so then the question then would be like, do you think Nintendo would sell as many copies of Super Mario Brothers through that Super Mario Brothers 3 or whatever that's totally not Super Mario Brothers, and is a different game but acted in, like, if you replaced Mario with new IP character number 4 tomorrow,
actual real new creative things, not just
And
Mario again.
and I think
Not just
Splatoon is
Jumpman.
testament that they probably would sell as much. Like, I think they would probably. I think some of their failing games would have probably been bolstered up a bit by the fact that they're relying on a little bit of nostalgia. Yeah, but I don't think that they're relying on nostalgia to sell the game. I just think it's people's attachment to. It's people's nostalgia that makes them buy it. It's not Nintendo relying on nostalgia to sell it. If that makes sense. Can you see what I mean?
What you seem to be saying, I think, in all, is that it factors in far less into their economics than you might think.
I think it factors more into the consumer than the creator.
I don't think they'd be able to sell
no,
as
no.
well.
I suppose I see what you mean. But I don't. Yeah, I suppose I see what you mean, and okay, that kind of makes sense. I'm still fairly okay. Like, I have a problem with Nintendo not creating new IP rather than Nintendo relying on Mario, if that makes sense. I'd be perfectly happy for them to release a Mario game every year if they made an additional game and it was a new thing. Like, we're seeing Mario Maker come out this year, and we're also seeing Splatoon come out this year, and I'm perfectly, that's really cool and perfectly fine with both. I'm more interested in Splatoon, but I don't have that nostalgia for Mario, so I'd be happy to see them cater to both.
See, I know that Nintendo is pretty shitty with third-party support. So I must presume that they
don't have a good history with it.
I must presume that with all the when it comes to man hours put into making Nintendo games, there is a limited amount of them because there is Nintendo Studios and they only have so many man hours and so many people. And said man hours, probably an awful lot of them go into the old IP when they could have easily be infused into new IP.
I'll put it out there. The only problem I have with nostalgia is when it blinds people. I do think that there is a tendency to refer to things for which people can be nostalgic for, like the golden age of gaming, and allow that to sort of blind the faults that it had.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there were lots of people compare the golden age of gaming, as in 16, 8-bit and 64-bit, to the kind of the time we have now, and claim that the gaming industry is in a terrible state. And whether that's true or not, I dislike that there is a possibility. I'm not saying that this is the case, but I dislike that there's a possibility that nostalgia could be blinding people from the fact that the gaming industry and any industry has its faults through different faults through different times. If that makes sense.
You're basically there is no such thing as a golden age thingy.
Yeah, kind of.
I get that. I understand.
Not that there's no such thing as a golden age, but like the golden age that you remember wasn't necessarily as shiny as you recall. And if you know that and you still see the shine through it, that's fine. But if you're looking at it from a perspective of, look at all this shiny I have here, then it's kind of a problem. But I think it's like a very far detached problem. I don't think it actually has any real sort of tangible problematic effect. Fair? Do you think that's fair enough?
I'd say that's fair.
Do you think it applies sort of well?
I would say that there's more problems with nostalgia than that, but I would definitely say that the problem of people, and I've outlined previously what the problems are. But I would definitely say that the problem of somebody taking nostalgia and not factoring in their own biases to then make what they think is a balanced critique of gaming as it stands. Is a problem.
Yeah.
Is very much a problem. It's a £200 problem.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But I think that was a good talk. Should we go on to the indie game?
Let's go on to the indie game.
The indie game of the week, ladies and gentlemen, comes to us from Question Games, and it's called The Magic Circle.
Is that Question Games or Question Games?
Like EA.
It's an instruction. You must
EA
question.
games.
Why?
Oh no, that was Challenge Everything, wasn't it? Not Question Everything. Challenge Everything. The indie game of the week is called The Magic Circle, and it's developed by Question Games. It can be found on Twitter at The Magic Circle, and it's really cool. It's
what is The Magic Circle
so
about?
it's terrible to. It's a first person kind of experience, but it's. So the setting of the game is a yet to be finished fantasy game that you as a playtester go through and explore. So you can't really call it a first person experience because it is a game. Like that's if nothing more than that's the premise for it. That's the premise for it.
You're in a game. Is it a game?
But like you're aware you're walking through a game and experiencing it in the way that somebody will experience a game. So it feels more like. It feels like it would fit more in the first-person game category than first-person experience category, although those categories are kind of silly and need to merge a little more. Anyway...
Do you shoot the dudes?
Well, I don't know. I haven't played through the entirety. I haven't played through a majority, even. I've played through some, and I think this is really cool, so I'll tell you. It has this gorgeous aesthetic.
Yeah, it is
beautiful aesthetic. It's black and white, some monochromatic, black and white, however you want to describe it. It looks very hand-drawn. It almost reminds me of like book illustrations.
Yeah. I'd say it's like everything's being made in black and white papier mâché.
Yes,
but
yeah.
But not shit.
That's
not my papier
one way
mâché.
to approach it. Yeah, and you play as a playtester who's playing through this game that's yet to be finished as the developers and the people who are sort of responsible for publishing and making the finished thing are arguing about the changes that are going on and that they're trying to enforce in their world. So like there's all sorts of stories and layers as to which publisher is controlling this thing and telling this developer to do this. Like I'm not really selling it.
I shall point out from here it's starting to sound very, very much like one of those walking experience the game games like that.
I know what you
was it
mean.
Depression Quest or
well, like many things, like Dear
like
Esther.
lots of things.
Everybody's
The
Gone to
thingy
the
of John
Rapture.
Prospero.
Oh, what's it called? That's really going to annoy me now because
The
I know what
detective
you're
one.
referring
It has
to.
really beautiful graphics.
Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke.
That was on. Yeah, I know what you mean, but it's. We're going to do a topic on this sometime soon.
Put it like this: will your opinion change of it if you get to the end of the game and it turns out to be one of those?
No, I really like this game, no matter whether you consider it to be a walking simulator. Or
no matter what it turned out to be.
Well, no matter, even if I got to the last section and they were like, "Here's 10 minutes of Halo," I'd still really like this game as what it is. We're gonna
the concept is interesting.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do a topic on this soon. The difference between a boring bad walking simulator and a good experience game. Jim Sterling did a Jimquisition on it recently. Me and Lewis have been talking about it a lot, and there is like some really nailed into the ground. This is how to do a good one, and this is like there are certain things you should probably avoid, and this nails it. Like, it makes you a really active participant in the story, so the game mechanic becomes discovering the story and experiencing the world rather than just it's hard to describe, but there's actually like a game mechanic in there rather than just a story for you to discover at your own pace. The game is the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it nails all the good points of a first person like experiential game. Beautiful art style. It ran well on my PC, which is good because my PC is like, I love you to bits PC, but it's falling apart and rocket boosters are flying off everywhere, heating things up, and oh god. So it ran really well. It was absolutely gorgeous. It's on Steam. We played a demo of it. I've seen it. I came across it through Jim Sterling originally.
The humour is wacky, but not too wacky.
Yeah, it's got I forgot to mention the humour. It's got a good humour to it as well. It's
Who are the two?
I
think they've been scooped out of the massive chalice, and they've gone to be planted right in the middle of this lovely little tale. Basically,
one of them is the main developer of the game, the two characters that we're talking about, and the other one is like one of the main actors / people responsible for making it work, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So like
brand.
Yeah, so like one's trying to enforce their will on the story, and the other's trying to actually make it all work in terms of a game, and it's really cool. It's very interesting. It reminds me a lot of the Stanley Parable, kind of, but like a sort of fantasy meta version of the Stanley Parable. It's very cool, and you should check it out because it's good. And indie games.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry about that, slight technical hitch, but we were going to the end of the show anyway. So that was our indie game of the week. That was The Magic Circle by Question Games, so on and so forth. Thank you very much, and it's been good fun talking to you about it. Thank you for joining me.
That's quite all right.
We'll do 20 questions another time when we're all in the same room together, so it's a little bit more
lively,
fun and communal and dynamic. Although if you want to send in a question, please do, and you can send that in on our Facebook page or our Twitter, or we have an email address somewhere that I'm not sure of. The MySpace pages.
You have a MySpace page for this?
No. You can attach it to the leg of a carrier pigeon and throw it.
A passenger pigeon. If you can find a passenger pigeon still alive, then you probably deserve to have your questions answered.
Loz has been out skeet shooting again. Thank you very much for joining us. I look forward to receiving your carrier pigeons this week. And until next week, come and join the Facebook page. Come and join the Twitter. Come and talk to us because we really like it. We're very lonely.
I have nothing else to fill my time.
I thought you'd add the thing that I don't like saying.
Oh yes, what the well, that's it. Like and subscribe.
There we go. And until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you very much for joining us. Speak to you next week. And until then, the game's up.